What up, y'all? Chris here to give some thoughts and, of course, prediction for UFC 183, Anderson Silva versus Nick Diaz. Really looking forward to this fight. Most anticipated fight for me in a while. Of course, full disclosure, Nick Diaz is my favorite fighter, so obviously there's going to be a little bit of bias going into talking about this fight and perhaps the prediction itself. That said, the card itself, it's alright. It's pretty much just a one big fight card. The co-main event between Kelvin Gastelum and Tyron Woodley, that should be a good fight. It's kind of a toss-up, in all honesty. I really don't think there's a strong favorite either way in that fight. I probably favor Gastelum because he looked really good. I know Woodley a little bit more experienced. Woodley probably should have the edge, honestly, based on experience and just his talent level and his wrestling and everything, but Gastelum just seems to be the better fighter in my opinion. I think Woodley's got more tools, more athletic fighter, but I don't know, something about Gastelum, he just seems to be made to be a fighter, and I think he's going to get the win in this one. As far as the main event, though, the fight that I really excited for and looking forward to, Anderson Silva versus Nick Diaz. It's crazy that this fight's even being made. Who would even thought before it was that it was a possibility? Obviously, Nick Diaz has been saying he'd like to fight Anderson Silva for a while, but the fact that he was all but retired and has been out for 2 years now, and Anderson been out for a while with that leg break, people didn't even know if he was going to come back, even though he said he wanted to. It's just kind of an interesting matchup. But perfectly timed. I mean, not perfectly timed. I guess it is. But, perfect situation and circumstances. I mean, who else would these guys fight coming back? There could be other guys, but it wouldn't really make as much sense as this fight does. It's good to see, regardless of the weight class, Nick Diaz is down to fight anybody. I mean, this guy, George St. Pierre never fought Anderson Silva, even though people want to see that fight time and time again. And Nick Diaz is fighting, even though it's been obviously a big time span in between, but it's fighting George St. Pierre and Anderson Silva back-to-back. The guys that are recognized as two of the greatest MMA fighters of all time. Nick's fighting back-to-back, so just kind of shows one of the many reasons why he is my favorite MMA fighter. As far as the matchup, it's so hard to say. I mean, there's so many intangibles going in this fight that aren't normal in other fights. I mean, the fact that Nick's been out for 2 years, that should be a problem in a way for a lot of fighters. They say ring rust, being out, but Nick is always in shape. He's always doing one thing or another in the gym or training. So I really don't think that ring or cage rust in this instance is going to be a problem for Nick Diaz. As far as Anderson Silva, I've been watching these videos. He's been out for a year. I've been watching these videos he's been posting on YouTube called Spider Life, I believe it is. And man, I hate to say it. I mean, I don't hate to say it, but as a Diaz fan, he looks good physically. I mean, he looks sharp, like he's been training his ass off. Doesn't seem to be suffering any ill effects from that leg break. Physically, he looks ready to go. I mean, he doesn't really look his age. These are training videos and whatnot. It's not the fight itself, but he doesn't look to be suffering at all. He looks to be pretty damn fast still. Has his strength back in his legs. So, I don't know. If anyone wondering if he really fell off, as far as on the physical aspect or physical side of things, I don't know. Mentally might be the problem, though. You always wonder how a fighter's going to respond from being knocked out, as he was against Chris Weidman, and then the rematch suffering that leg break. So, is he going to be afraid to throw those kicks in there? I don't know. Hopefully, in a way, I mean, I'm a Nick Diaz fan, so I hope he is, because unfortunately for Nick, that's been one of the biggest detriments to his fighting style, is not checking leg kicks. It's just something he's never really done. Same applies to his brother, as you saw in his last fight against Rafael dos Anjos. Nick's just never been one to check leg kicks. Pretty much just eats him and keeps marching forward. Against Anderson, that could definitely be a problem. The other issue for Nick Diaz in this fight is obviously the size disparity. Nick's fought at middleweight twice before against Frank Shamrock, where he just demolished him. And I believe the Scott Smith fight was a middleweight as well, and he manhandled him as well. But obviously neither of those guys is Anderson Silva. Anderson is going to be the bigger fighter, but Nick Diaz isn't going to be, I don't think he's going to be hugely undersized in this fight. Nick's just got to get in there and press. Try to create any doubts that he can in Anderson Silva's mind. If he has any, psychological issues lingering, Nick Diaz has to try to expose him. He's got to stay in his face. He's got to stay close. If he leaves any distance, Anderson's just going to pick him apart. Even inside, though, I mean, Anderson's very quick, good movements, quick hands. It may come down to how much Nick Diaz can take, and if he can keep going forward and discourage Anderson Silva at all. I don't know, man. I mean, based on the matchup itself, and the physical capabilities of either, this should be Anderson Silva's fight to lose. He should be able to just light up Nick Diaz on the feet with either punches or kicks. And I don't know, man. Nick Diaz has never been stopped he's been stopped on cuts, but he's never been stopped due to damage. You know, he's never been knocked out. He's never been really hurt like that. So it'd be interesting to see if Anderson Silva, I mean, he has once early in his career, like his first or second fight, but whatever, that was a long time ago. So it'll be interesting to see how much he can take from Anderson Silva and, you know, how much he can give. He needs to try to go to the body. If Anderson's willing to go to the cage with back like he has in the past before and just let Nick go off, Nick will keep going. You know, Nick is not going to get tired. He's not going to get discouraged. He's just going to keep throwing hands if Anderson gives him the opportunity. The later this fight goes, the more I think it could possibly favor Nick because he is not going to get tired. Not that Anderson Silva's had any problems with cardio in the past, but I don't know, man. I'm trying to look at ways that Nick Diaz can win this fight, and I'm hoping if he can go later, he can start to pour it on and maybe tire Anderson Silva out, but I don't know. It's hard to say, man. Like I said, Anderson Silva should win this fight. There's no reason he shouldn't. I don't know if he can necessarily stop Nick Diaz. If anyone can, it should be him. But I'm going with Nick Diaz. It's my favorite fighter, man. I mean, how can I not go for the guy? Even if I don't think that the odds are in his favor, you never know, man. You never know what can happen in a fight. Maybe Anderson Silva's chin's not the same. He didn't get knocked out, not to Nick the big power hitter, but maybe he can, you know, wear him down. I don't know, man. I just hope Nick Diaz wins this fight because I want him to win. There is ways for him to win. It's not impossible, even if it is improbable. So, Nick Diaz for the win. Anyways, I've rambled on for far too long. What are your guys' thoughts on this fight? Who do you think is going to win? Who do you want to win? How do you see it going down? Will it go the distance? Will it end early? Any other thoughts in general? That's it for now. Link to Twitter and Info as always. Should be back on Saturday night afterwards to give my post-fight thoughts, but until then, I'm out.